Recording has started. Cryptocurrencies are more popular than ever, but what is their real meaning and practice? Why should people use crypto in their everyday life instead of usual paper money? In tonight's webinar, we welcome Vladan Lausevic, who will give you an overview over cryptocurrencies. Also, we will discuss how cryptocurrencies are important for human rights, community organizing, and human progress. Thank you, Vladan. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. So tonight's presentation is basically going to be very simple. So I will speak for around 10 minutes. I don't have any slides, nothing like that. I think that it's not really necessary, partly because I just want to present like a short introduction to cryptocurrencies, like a 10-minute pitch, so to say. And I think slides, videos, articles you can always find on the internet on your own if you are more interested, of course, like that. So so we can start with a question. So what is a cryptocurrency? Partly because there are different terms that are being used. One is digital currency. The term virtual currency is used as well, and sometimes even the term decentralized currency is being used. Now, you can say basically that every cryptocurrency is a digital and virtual currency as well, but not every digital or virtual currency is not a cryptocurrency. For example, let's say the idea of digital euro is about creating a digital currency, but it's not going to be a cryptocurrency because euro has the backing of the European Central Bank, which is a public institution. So let's say the main part of the definition, what is a cryptocurrency, is basically that it's a currency that doesn't have a government, like there is no government behind the currency itself, meaning that it's completely decentralized and it can be very autonomous, for example, as in the case of Bitcoin, or it can be more kind of community-based. And this is kind of the current development, that more and more currencies that are being created, they are not only about creating a currency so people can use it for transactions, but it's also that a lot of communities are being established where people can meet. People can make decisions together. They can have governance. They can even decide the price of the currency and what the currency should be used for. For example, I'm using a cryptocurrency called Seeds, and it's organized as a climate-friendly green cryptocurrency. So the idea is basically, so this is like the wallet. The idea is that you cannot use this currency for, let's say, buying oil or buying coal or buying something that's considered to be, let's say, bad for the environment. And as you can see here, there's a whole, how to say, community in Seeds. So you can do campaigns, you can do voting, and you can also make proposals to get some money if you have some idea or project, so to say. Now, if you look a little bit more on the history of cryptocurrencies, so basically the Bitcoin is considered to be the first one. And creation of Bitcoin was directly connected to the 2007 and 2008 financial crisis in the United States. That later on, how to say, transformed even into the Euro crisis. And what's important to remember with this crisis in America is that it wasn't a market failure in the first place. It was a government failure, partly because the contemporary president, George Bush Jr., was, how to say, demanding more money to be printed and to be spent by the government in order to, let's say, provide pensions and welfare, which was part of his electoral strategy to get more votes by promising, more welfare, so to say. So Bitcoin and other cryptocurrency were kind of reaction against that. So the people who were behind Bitcoin were, let's say, very ultra-liberal libertarians and so on, who wanted to create a currency that would kind of change the world. So now Bitcoin has been existing for more than 10 years. And what has happened at the same time is that there are so many more coins and currencies and tokens that have been created since then. And there are problems, to be honest. There are currencies that have been like scam projects. There are currencies who are more or less made as a hobby, as a joke, for example. As you can see here, Ben has a background using where like Elon Musk is holding the Dogecoin, and the Dogecoin, like a coin with a picture of a dog. It started as a joke, but it's actually now, being used a little bit like a stock market. So many people are buying cryptocurrencies, just that they're buying stock shares in big companies like Nestle or Microsoft or Volvo, doesn't matter. So that's one side of the cryptocurrencies that they're used as a digital gold, they're used for stock market, for trading. And another side of cryptocurrencies is that they're community driven, they're used for more specialized projects. They're used for some special purpose, let's say, for example, for climate transformation, or for, let's say, solar panel production, or for decentralized internet, and so on. And in some parts of the world, like let's say in Kenya, there are also so-called community inclusion currencies, which are not completely crypto because they're more digital currencies, but basically the money is used for social products so people can buy food and drinks and basic needs, so to say. Now, I want to speak more about what's now happening, for example, in China, as one of the latest news is that crypto has been banned there. And I can only say to the Chinese government, like, good luck with that. It's a little bit like, banning file sharing on internet, as the case was with the Pirate Bay, if you remember from the 2000s. And basically, what's going to happen now is that many people are going to move their crypto from China to other countries. But also that many Chinese will continue using crypto because it's very hard for a government to ban cryptocurrencies. Like similar behaviors have been done in Venezuela, and it simply doesn't work. It's very hard to ban it in practice. And it's not a surprise that authoritarian governments like China and Venezuela are against cryptocurrencies, because cryptocurrencies in their basics are very anti-authoritarian. And they are important if we speak now about, let's say, human rights and personal freedom. There are many examples, like people in Venezuela using crypto for, buying food, buying transportation, sending money to their relatives in United States and vice versa. There are also cases like in Afghanistan at the moment, because of the Taliban takeover, that some people are using cryptocurrencies in order to trade, to survive, because the fiat, the government money in Afghanistan is worthless at the moment. So what I want to kind of finish with is to say that I'm hoping for a future where decentralization, as in the sense of cryptocurrencies, is also leading to more, let's say, decentralized democracy, community governance, and that more people can use crypto in order not to be dependent on government money, and in order to be able to, how to say, um, in order to be able to really practice their human rights, so they can trade and buy stuff and have access to healthcare, have access to education. And because cryptocurrencies are also very big potential for really like globalizing the world economy much more than many people have been predicted. So it's really a ways to kind of create completely global markets. And I think this is something that we as liberals admire, that people can trade and exchange things around the world. So those are my 10 minutes, so to say. So now I can take some questions and how to say, comments, so to say.
Okay, may I say something? You talked about China, that they banned the cryptocurrencies. I think they try to keep their communities dumb and just they're using those currencies for themselves, for the party, for the communistic party. So that's what they try to do. Uh, it's communistic. It's dictatorial principles, and that's not okay. That's not okay. If we have you have to create a kind of a democratic, liberal uh, environment around that. So that's China. But then I have another question. Uh, can a local government using cryptocurrencies to finance uh, things in an environment like you say, climate change or something happening, uh, yeah, building something new? Can we do that?
So, absolutely. So I can start with China and to say that, yeah, the thing is that the Communist Party, I think, as Ben mentioned in the beginning, they want to have complete control over the economy. And it's hard to control the economy through very arbitrary and authoritarian behaviors when it comes to cryptocurrencies because they are decentralized and people can control, they can govern crypto themselves. And China is also it's also a digital dictatorship, and crypto kind of doesn't really kind of make sense for them. I mean, for the Chinese government, because they want to create a sophisticated digital dictatorship, while crypto is about decentralized and digital democracy that people can, individuals can engage in discussions, decision making, exchange of ideas, and so on. So that's the case with China, that they see this as a threat, so to say. And many analysts are now saying that the Chinese government they're basically shooting themselves in the foot because it means that you're speaking about billions of like the cryptocurrency values, like billions of dollars or euros are now gonna disappear from China because millions of people will move their wallets to other places like Singapore or India, something like that. So yeah. Now regarding the local level, sorry, I think that's a very, very good question there because I mean the answer is yes, of course. Local governments, communities can use digital currencies to create like a more local economy as well, at least for certain purposes. Let's say maybe you cannot give people local digital currency to, I don't know now, um, pay for maybe for I don't know, like for going to shopping malls and spending money on different things like ice cream and clothing. But you can give people money, let's say for maybe for transport or for basic needs like food, so to say. So there are some examples already. There is in Kenya, for example, something digital. It's called like a community inclusion currency, CIC. Sarafu, it's used for food and basic stuff. There's also something called Brixton pound. It's a local currency in a part of London. When many people thought that we don't want to use the British pound for certain services, we want to have a local currency so we can use it for buying coffee, tea, food, paying for transport, because it's easier to kind of control it, to govern it on the local level. And the idea is also that this money kind of goes back to the community, to the local level. So definitely, like I think that's the future, that more and more municipalities around the world will use some kind of digital currency for certain purposes, like even like let's say ecological purposes, so to say.
Thank you for the information. It's something, yeah, interesting. Uh, I think that's for the moment all I can that I can ask. So the point is I'm searching for something like you said, the cryptocurrencies for investment in new materials for the government, or you want uh, to build electrical lines in the city, so that you have different parts of currencies before investment. It's like I think it's like the stock market. Yeah, if you go to the stock market, you have to make a file for the commission from well, by example, Wall Street, and they are checking those file, and then they give you the opportunity to make some shares for something for investment. I think it's the same way, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, you can say like that. I mean, to explain it in a very good way. So basically,
Yeah,
if you speak now about decentralization,
yeah,
so what does it mean? It means that individuals can do more together
yeah,
without a middleman. Like a middleman could be a bank or a government or a big company. So, for example, if you now speak about cryptocurrencies, so like many people think that crypto is only used by billionaires and rich people, but in fact, many people using cryptocurrencies are quite kind of working class, precarious people like in Venezuela. So they're using crypto for transactions. So instead of me now, if you let's say if I'm a labor migrant from Venezuela in America, instead of using Western Union or a bank that's gonna charge me like $30-40 for a transaction to my parents in Venezuela, I just give them the money via Bitcoin directly. I don't have to pay any, large fees. Now, decentralization is partly about that, but decentralization is also like a synonym for diversity, where let's say centralization is more like a synonym for uniformity. So in this case, it means that decentralization is also that different systems can coexist. Let's say you can have a municipality with, let's say, 20,000 people, and they can use, I don't know, like 4, 5, 6 different currencies if they want for different purposes. It's not like that it's a zero-sum game that one currency is like taking out the another. So that's kind of the beauty of decentralization, that it's really about diversity. So, okay, Nicholas, you also have a question. So,
for those of us who are more familiar with the cryptocurrency space, uh, we are aware that Bitcoin has received a lot of criticism about its energy consumption and therefore its environmental impact. I know from some articles that you have written that you don't really buy this argument, but can you explain a bit more here? And based on this question, if we suppose that cryptocurrencies use a great amount of energy that could be used otherwise, should we really use them? Is there a real benefit?
oh, well, so here's the thing. I personally see Bitcoin's function as a problem for climate, because the thing with Bitcoin is that it's so decentralized that there is no community, kind of behind it. There is no community where people, like, let's say, I don't know, like 40 million people using Bitcoin can meet and make a decision. Okay, let's improve the system so that it's going to be better for the climate and environment. Because, for example, one Bitcoin transaction is equal to like 500,000, so 500,000 transactions with a Visa card. And Bitcoin, the whole network, the whole Bitcoin ecosystem is consuming more energy than certain countries like Austria, Greece, Switzerland. So definitely Bitcoin at the moment is very climate unfriendly. It's very bad for the environment. What I've written in my articles about Bitcoin is that the only way for Bitcoin to become green, so to say, is that its users, gather and make a common decision. But this is a little bit like kind of a mission impossible at the moment, because people who are using Bitcoin, they're organized in clubs, in networks that are very spread around the world, but there is no there's no single global Bitcoin community. Like there is no Discord or Facebook group with, let's say, 40 million Bitcoin users, and they go and vote about how to make Bitcoin more climate friendly regarding amount of electricity and resources that are being used. Now, regarding other cryptocurrencies, I can only say that new projects as seeds have been more careful. So there is a tendency that new cryptocurrencies are trying to be, let's say, more climate friendly because they don't want to have bad reputation. They don't have to have like bad publicity. And speaking about government money like euro or dollar, well, the thing is that they also consume a lot of energy, especially if you speak about old trees that have to be, used for paper production. So that's the case. So I personally hope, I can only hope that Bitcoin users will make an agreement, but then you will have to convince like around, I don't know, like 40 million people to engage in like decentralized democracy, so to say. Okay, so. Sorry, Ben, you also have a question, or?
Yes, thank you. I noticed a lot in my spam folder emails about we have taken control of your data. Please transfer your Bitcoin to this and this address. So, of course, the same as with normal money, there is some abuse with it. How hard or how easy is it to trace criminal activity with cryptocurrency? Thank you.
Well, that's a very that's a very good one. I would say one problem is that the governments have been a little bit too slow in responding to this because technology is usually faster than politicians and the law in general. So I have to say I'm not completely aware of what's the best solution here. I would say if I would get such kind of spam more often, I would always report them to the police, because if they have more statistics, if let's say now the police here in Sweden will, I don't know, if they would get like 200,000 reports about cryptocurrency scams, then they can ask the government for more money to combat that. But otherwise, I'm not sure, like, for example, I don't know what Europol is doing or what the Dutch government can do so much. So I haven't read anything. I haven't read so much regarding that, to be honest.
Okay.
I can add
Thank
on
you.
this, if you allow. I mean, if you transfer, if you fall into this scam and you transfer an X amount of money to a certain wallet, then this transaction is not traceable. But then the most serious exchanges, I mean, places where you can exchange your cryptocurrencies for fiat, euro, dollar, or anything, require that you go through a KYC process. This is know your customer, that process where you have to identify yourself, particularly because they want to prevent this kind of criminal activity. But on the other hand, these criminals tend to use exchanges which are not regulated somehow. So if they do use such exchanges, so up until today, it's not possible to trace the transaction and get your money back. At least as far as I know. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are such problems, and I mean, for example, I'm using Telegram, and every day there is someone writing me, "Hello, are you into crypto? Would you like to, buy something?" Or so I agree. I mean, there are a lot of scammers. There are really a lot of people like organized leagues, how to say, working on that. Unfortunately, I think the best way to protect yourself is just to, like, for example, just be careful. Don't go into contact with unknown people. Um, don't like send crypto to anyone unless you have some confirmation or agreement. So yeah. It's important to be careful, definitely, so to say. So let's see. Are there any more concluding comments or something? I can only say that just to see. I think one thing I forgot to mention is that, how to say, like I'm personally, for example, now into gaming, and one of the latest developments on the crypto market are like cryptocurrencies tokens that are used for making it easier for people to game, like different online games and so on. And so there is also this kind of connection between gamers and crypto enthusiasts taking place at the moment, so to say.
Vladan, do you think that cryptocurrencies are going to get wide adoption in the years to come, or will they remain a niche, let's say, market, something for people who are tech
Savvier.
inclined,
Yeah.
tech savvy? Or what's your take on this?
No, I think that crypto is gonna become just more mainstream and less subculture because, how to say, because already now, like as I say, millions of people who are using cryptocurrencies are really not billionaires or entrepreneurs or businessmen. They are just like workers, like factory workers, manual workers, as let's say South Americans in United States or Africans here in Europe, kind of just using crypto to make transactions because it's cheaper, it's faster, There is no middle hand. So I think that it's just gonna be more common that more and more people are using crypto in their everyday life, especially on the local level, for different goods and services, so to say. So that's how I see the upcoming development.
There are very many different cryptocurrencies, and how do people decide which one they are going to accept in their store, like in the checkout of the clothing store, for example?
Whew. I think it all depends on the trends and agreements at the local level. I would say, let's say that if you have a place like a municipality where some amount of people are using cryptocurrency X, and they start using it for trade, and other people will also start using cryptocurrency X for that. I mean, X, just an example.
Mm.
So I think it's going to be very spontaneous, how people make choices, really depending on the situation. Like, for example, I know that seeds, the currency I'm using, there are some places like in Guatemala, like villages, where you can use it. So
Mm.
it's because some of our entrepreneurs have been working in these villages, and they convinced the locals to start using it, and then local people started using it. So
Mm. So it's very community driven.
exactly, yeah.
Mm.
You can say it like that.
Mm.
Vladan, how seeds mining is done?
So comparing to Bitcoin, seeds is much more climate friendly. So seeds is actually not being mined as Bitcoin with the so-called proof of work system, where you have a lot of computers solving mathematical puzzles, interconnected. So seeds is using a system called proof of stake, where the whole network has, at the moment, I think like 25 validators, stakeholders, who are every time they are making a successful transaction, they get like a reward. So this system is much less demanding comparing to to Bitcoin, because Bitcoin has like around 1 million miners, and Seeds has like 25 validators. It's a huge difference. So
Mm.
so that's kind of the case. Ooh.
I have a last question.
Mm.
Um, most of the central banks are too skeptical against cryptos. Uh, Recently, I read on the news that the president of the Swedish central bank uh, uh, paralyzed Bitcoin as a stamp.
Yeah, he compared Bitcoin to stamp marks, like when people were collecting stamp marks for letters. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think that he doesn't understands what Bitcoin is.
So, do you think that central banks are going to change their stance anytime soon?
Sorry, so just more.
For what concerns cryptocurrencies?
I'm not sure. The thing is, we have to understand that central banks, they of course they want to defend their positions, authority, system. So of course there is no central bank that's gonna say, "Oh, cryptocurrency is good." So they're not never gonna say that. So um, I'm not sure, to be honest, how central banks are gonna act like in 10 years. So I'm not sure if they're gonna, in general, like ECB, Fed, other central banks, Swedish central, if they're going to become more positive. I'm really not sure about that one.
Well, what Nicolas said is, I agree with that because we have the same problem that the central banks are not really enthusiastic about it. Because a few guys who are working in entertainment and some working in business, they are explaining that they are using cryptocurrencies and that they all say, yeah, it's going to be nice and you make a lot of money, etc., etc. I think we have to be realistic and be careful with this kind of information before we act in this case.
Sorry, absolutely, I agree with you. And how to say, the thing is that cryptocurrencies, they do actually offer, in technical sense, an alternative to central banks and government money.
That's right.
So this could be a next like freedom revolution if you speak about economy and finance. And I think this is something like especially liberals should cherish and learn more about and promote more as well in political communication. That this can be the future, so to say. Sorry guys, I think that not my voice, but my body is kind of getting more tired. So I feel that I need to kind of finish here. But if you have any questions later, you can always text me on Messenger or something. We can continue there instead, so to say. So I'm very thankful for tonight, so that you attended.
Okay.
Thank you for presenting.
Yeah.
Thank you, Vladan. Bye-bye.
Thank you for being there. Okay.
Hey, thank you all, and keep in touch, so to say, during the week.
Okay, fine. Take
Yes,
care for
have a
yourself.
good night.
Take care for yourself, right?
Thanks. Okay, bye, people. Thank you,
Bye.
man.
Bye.
Ciao.
Thank you.